Hello artists, in this video we are going to talk about warping a loom, or also known as dressing the loom, preparing the loom so that you're able to weave your creation. We're going to use this wooden frame loom that we have here at school, and I want to go over some specifics of how to warp this to make it easier to get your weaving started. And we're also going to talk about what kinds of yarns to use and at what point you can have some artistic decision and what those effects might be depending on which yarn you choose to warp with. So let's get started. So when you're warping a loom, this is when you are creating the vertical strings that go back and forth. So like on this tapestry loom, I've got an experimental weave going on. It's already warped, and this sets up your structure to start weaving. You can really choose any type of yarn or any type of fiber or string to warp your loom. It really is your artistic preference of color and size based on your final design and how your weft interacts with the warp fiber that you choose. And you'll get more knowledge of this the more that you weave based on your own preferences. The key though is that your warp string is sturdy so that it's not going to be breaking as you're pulling when you're doing your tension. Tension is how tight your string is around your loom. Let's take a look at how you can test your fiber strength so that it's sturdy enough for your warping. This looks like taking your yarn, and if you pull it really tight between your fingers, like this yarn isn't breaking, then it will withstand. It'll be strong enough when I warp. If I had a fiber like this, it's super pretty, it's super soft. This might be better for your weft going left to right versus it being strong enough to go vertical or be your warp, because when I pull it like this, it doesn't take very much strength for me for it to break apart. So when I'm warping the loom, that's gonna happen a lot because you wanna have your tension, your string be really tight. So I would recommend on the looms here at school that you are starting with, if you want a quicker weave, starting with maybe like a medium size yarn or even a bulkier yarn to warp with. There's nothing wrong with picking a smaller fiber or yarn weight. It just takes a little bit longer to work and weave with. Okay, once you've selected your yarn or your fiber for warping, I'm just gonna use this chunkier sized bulky yarn. You're gonna also need a pair of scissors handy, and we're gonna get started. We're going to secure the yarn. You can pick any corner. I'm just gonna pick the corner up here. You're gonna secure the yarn with a knot, and then we are going to start wrapping the loom, and we're gonna do this in a way that doesn't get in the way with our weaving. So it's really common to start going around the front and then around the back. We don't want to do this because then all the strings get really messy. So what we want to do is we want to work only on the front side of our loom. So we're gonna go from whatever corner you started. I recommend starting here. You're gonna go from this corner. This is gonna kind of be like our side scrap starter yarn. I'm gonna loop it in this bottom notch, and then I'm gonna bring it up and around so it's on like the same plane as our frame. I'm gonna bring it up and around. I'm gonna go around the notch, the first notch, and then I'm going to bring it down. So I'm not going behind the loom. And for this loom, we're gonna put 2 strings in one notch, because if I were to space it out like this, these gaps are gonna be so large, and we don't have super thick, chunky fiber yarn or roving or anything like that. So we want to make the gaps a little smaller. So we're gonna double up, and then we're gonna go around the notch, back up to the top. We're gonna go back into this notch like they have a friend, and then around around and back down. So give that string a friend around the notch, back up, oops, I'm caught, back up through the top, and then give that string a friend around the notch and back down. And you're just gonna keep repeating this until it's as wide as you want your weaving to be. It's very helpful if you throw your yarn to the side, but I don't want it clanking around all of my workspace. So you're just gonna repeat this. I'm gonna show you what it shouldn't look like. So if I go like this, and then it's around the back, front, around the back, you'll start to see how it's like all even. There's like one layer, and then now there's starting to be 2 layers. So this is why we're not weaving all the way around the back. We're just staying on the front. So if you were to turn your loom over, you'll notice that you'll just have these little loops and everything's in the front, setting on the frame. And I'm not gonna make this super wide for this demo. I'm gonna just pretend that this is as long as I want the weaving to be, or as wide as I want the weaving to be. And then I'm going to I'm gonna cut some extra string off, and you can do a number of things to tie your work off. So you could get a piece of tape and just kind of wrap this around really tightly, and then make sure your work is taped. Make sure this is taped down. Fabulous, that works. Or you can try and secure a knot, which I am gonna go ahead and do. And you just wanna make sure that it's secured enough that your weaving doesn't fall off. But tape is totally an option and a little easier. Actually, that didn't tie all the way, so I'm gonna do one more. Great. So main goal is just to make sure that your weaving is secured, so when you run your hands across it, nothing's falling apart. All right, now we're ready to get started weaving. So you can go ahead and weave with any techniques you know, or check out other videos to learn some techniques to use while you're weaving.